Hello, welcome everybody to our SADS Foundation Town Hall webinar tonight. Grateful to have everyone joining us. We're excited about this opportunity to discuss our partnership with Citizen Health in launching this new health navigation tool that we have started to use on staff, and we've had a small group of people from our community starting to try it out and just found it to be wonderfully helpful and a great contribution to the services that we provide at the SADS Foundation for our genetic heart rhythm families. Um, while we're waiting for people to filter in here, I'm not going to be speaking all that much this evening. We're going to hear from uh, some representatives from the SADS Foundation, from SADS Foundation President Dr. Mike Ackerman. We're also going to hear from a number of members of the Citizen Health team. But I'll start just by sharing, as people are filtering in. Um, this is a really personally meaningful um, project for me. I know there have been times in my life, most notably after my baby daughter passed away a few years ago, when getting access to medical records was really important and something that uh, we worked on jumping through the hoops to make possible, to try to look into our medical records to understand what was going on as a family. And we found it to be really difficult to get access to the medical records. There was a lot of waiting involved. There were a lot of different hoops to jump through, a lot of different systems to navigate. And it was at a time with my daughter when that was the last thing that we wanted to be spending our time on. Um, and then once we did get our records, it was surprisingly difficult to parse through and to try to understand exactly what was happening in the record. It was hundreds of pages of PDFs and very difficult to find the important information. And so I'm really excited about the potential for this citizen health navigation tool to help members of our community to more quickly gain access to their records and to more quickly understand what's happening in those medical records so that they can understand what's happening with their health um, uh, and as appropriate, prepare for medical appointments, share it with other care providers, share those records with family members. So just really excited about this. With that preamble, I'm going to start a video now, a pre-recorded video from Dr. Ackerman. He couldn't join us live tonight, but he did record a video to share his thoughts on this partnership. And I will share my screen here and turn the time over to him for a few minutes to hear his thoughts.
Greetings, everyone. Mike Ackerman here, genetic cardiologist and president of the SADS Foundation, the Sudden Arrhythmia Death Syndrome Foundation. And I'm so excited to join you and to promote and launch an incredibly exciting new chapter in our history, in our 30-year history. And I need you, and I need 5 minutes of you with a really exciting new tool that has been co-developed with Citizen Health. We now have the Citizen Health SADS Foundation Health Navigation Tool. It's going to be a fantastic resource for you, for our community, for advances in your diseases, your questions, to provide answers. And really what it will take is 5 minutes of you to work through this tool, to populate it with the information about your health history in a phenomenal resource developed by Citizen Health. And it's been adopted for your conditions. We have been partnering with them for quite some time to make it very focused and relevant to your conditions. So take the time, won't you, to join in this effort to populate the tool with your information, and they do all the work. So if you can give Citizen Health and this tool 5 minutes of your time, they will bring together your health information in a way that you will have available for you. You'll be able to look into it and see what did it say about your ICD if you have one? What was your last QTC? And many, many other things that will be consolidated in a way that's going to be user friendly for you, quickly available to your current health provider to consolidate your health history, or for your next person on your team in your cardiac journey. So I'm super excited about this. We've been interacting with them. They are first-rate team, very committed. In fact, it was developed, this tool, by families with rare diseases. They know what it is like, what your journey has been like. And in fact, the team who built it includes those who've been part of writing the HIPAA laws. So you should have a lot of confidence in this tool that you're going to be engaging in the information that you're going to be provided, and in what we will be able to do together. So give 5 minutes to begin a tremendously exciting future of possibilities for all of our families with whatever your sudden cardiac arrest predisposing genetic heart condition might be. I'm really looking forward to starting to see patients who bring with them their consolidated health information completed by and with the use of this Citizen Health navigation tool. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ackerman. We're grateful for him and his wisdom and his guidance of our foundation. We're actually in our 35th year this year, which is very exciting. And Dr. Ackerman has been with us for 20, 25 years of that. So grateful for his leadership. With that, I'm going to turn the time over to Genevie Echols, who is the Director of Family Support and Research for the SADS Foundation, to hear from her. So go ahead, Genevie.
Thanks, Walker. I'm really glad to be here with everyone this evening. And as Walker mentioned, I'm Genevie Echols. I'm the Director of Family Support and Research at the SADS Foundation, and I've been in this role since 2022. Before coming to my staff role as a member of SADS, I worked in the cardiovascular electrophysiology lab at the Mayo Clinic as a registered cardiovascular invasive specialist. And in that role, I assisted EPs with implanting cardiac devices and performing ablations. I was first introduced to SADS when I was 17 after being diagnosed with long QT syndrome. And I have 4 kids with LQTS, and I lost one son due to it. So I want to talk just briefly about my role at SADS. As the Director of Family Support and Research, I have the privilege every day of interacting with families who are part of our community and who have a genetic arrhythmia condition. I want to mention some of the ways we support patients and families with these conditions, in part because the navigation tool we are going to be talking about tonight can play a part in several of these areas of support and help to empower patients to be an active and informed member of their care team. So the first one is patient empowerment. At the SADS Foundation, we offer one-on-one guidance to help you on your care journey by providing physician referrals to see an expert, offering detailed information about your condition, and then also helping to connect families with peers. We also offer virtual support groups and in-person family conferences to help you build a support network. We know that it's really important to families to have educated providers that they can go to receive expert care. And we provide this education by organizing special panels and conferences and providing educational newsletters directly to healthcare providers. We also work to accelerate research by bringing the patient perspective to research and sharing your concerns with clinicians and researchers. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about why we launched this navigation tool in the first place. So at one point or another, every person on this call has been a patient. And being a patient is really hard work. You have to keep track of all of your doctors, the appointments, the test results, and medications. And that adds to the difficulty of just being a patient and dealing with your condition itself. And I speak to this from personal experience. You have the condition that brought you into contact with the medical field, and then you're adding all of this on top of it. To add to that complexity, many people have their care spread out among several different providers or even sometimes different medical centers. And if you want to gather your records for any reason, it can be really difficult to gather them from one provider, much less to gather them from several. Another unique perspective that our families have is that because most of our conditions are inherited, there are multiple family members who are affected by the same condition. So you have not only your condition that you're getting care for, but you have multiple other family members that you're also needing to gather medical records for. And so this frustration can just be multiplied in that case. So one of the reasons we partnered with several Citizen Health is to solve many of these problems. We chose Citizen Health because for several different reasons that we can expand on later in the webinar. But a few of these reasons are because well, first of all, I want to say that we've looked a lot of different platforms as we've gone through this process. And I've been a part of this process for several years as we've looked at the different platforms. And we were extremely impressed with Citizen Health because they're really aligned with our foundation's values. They offer a very friendly, a user-friendly platform. Their onboarding is quick. And they do have AI tools that can be used if you would like to use those AI tools. And the Citizen team will elaborate on that a little bit more. But one of the major goals of offering this to our community is that we really want to make your journey of living with a genetic heart condition a little bit easier. And I'm going to share some ways that this tool has helped others. Next slide, please. So I would like to share a little bit about my journey personally and interaction with the healthcare system and how this tool has helped me and also my family. So I previously mentioned in my introduction that I have long QT syndrome. And my LQTS has been a little bit more difficult to manage than many cases. I've needed an ICD because of breakthrough cardiac events. And then I also have a pretty complex medical history with multiple other medical conditions. And these are things that I've dealt with over the years. I've trying to navigate my health, I've come in contact with multiple different specialists. I have a ton of different test results, a lot of appointments to keep track of, and I have medical records from a few different places, and a few different specialists spread across those different healthcare organizations. And sometimes trying to deal with all of this has been a huge nightmare. If you remember my intro, I also have 4 kids who have long QT syndrome, and their long QT has not been complex like mine for the most part. So they mostly just have that to deal with, which is plenty on its own. But I have my stuff to deal with, and then navigating my children's health journey. So the reason that I joined the SADS and Citizen Health Patient Navigation Tool is because I really wanted to keep everything in one place and have easy access to it and make my life more simple. This tool has been helping me to simplify my life by keeping my records in one place, and I also have the ability to use those AI tools to look at health trends and analyze test results. And that is something that I'm actually looking forward to using more as I get more of my records gathered into one place to actually see what my trends look like, what my QT interval has been throughout the years, where I'm at right now with my QTC, and also looking about my ICD records. As well as health records for the other medical conditions like my lab results and tracking them in a way that I can maybe look for trends in my health and be more proactive when I talk to my healthcare providers. It's also been very helpful as I prepare my children who are entering adulthood and beginning to manage their own health records. I've shared this information with them, and several of them will be joining the platform because they're going to be moving off to college and or moving on to the next phase of their life. And I want to help them have their medical records in a place where when they go to access these new healthcare providers, that they can see what their QT interval has been over the years, that they can look at their different treatments, and that I know that they're safe in their um, with their new providers and that they have access to the best care that way by looking at their medical records and their past medical history. One of the other things that I really love about the platform is the ability to participate in research. And research is something that to me is very important, and it has been for a very long time. And this platform gives me the ability to participate in research as I choose to do it. I can share my de-identified information with researchers if I want to. I can also choose to join different research projects that are going on if I decide to participate in those and if they align with my values or my family's values. So that's a little bit about how the tool has helped me, and um, I really have enjoyed learning about the platform as a staff member as well as personally. So enough about how the tool has helped me. I also want to share a couple of other examples of how it's helped families, and then I want to introduce Ali Hoth, who is a special member of our community. We've had several families that have come to us as we've just been doing this onboarding and this launch, and they're families that have really had a huge need to use this platform. So we shared it with them. One of the families is a family who had their care spread out among several different health systems, and the health systems just were not communicating very well with each other. And this was resulting in substandard care that was potentially harmful for the patient and their family. This family ended up using the navigation tool to gather their records all in one place, and they shared some of the health information with the SADS family support team. And we were able to help them analyze that information and create a plan to get appropriate care for their family. We have another family who has an ultra rare genetic arrhythmia condition in our space, and they're using that platform, the Citizen Health platform, to gain access to their genetic testing results and information from their provider so that we can reach out to researchers who are looking at this specific condition and to help them find the best care. And then we're also using that information to find others who have their their same genetic condition, so we can connect them so that they don't feel so alone with their condition. And these are just a few of the stories I'm excited to share a little bit about. But I want to turn the time over to Ali Hoth, who is our social media coordinator, so she can tell you a little bit about her experience in using the navigation tool.
Hi, as Genevie said, I work here at SADS, but I also have a SADS condition called CPVT. Um, as she introduced me, my name is Allie. I'm really excited to be here tonight and share my experience. So I am pregnant with my second child, and as you guys know, a SADS condition is genetic. And we have been figuring out this condition in between my previous pregnancy and this one. I jumped on the opportunity to be a part of Citizen and um, a part of this with SADS because with a pregnancy, a lot of things are unknown. But it's been really helpful being able to have my records from my previous pregnancy to compare with this pregnancy, and with labor and delivery and the whole process from start to finish. I'm also meeting with more doctors this pregnancy compared to my first, and it's been incredibly helpful having those records on hand when I meet with those doctors. So that instead of having to track them down everywhere, I can have them on my phone or I can have them on my computer, on my iPad, and pull them right up so that those doctors can see. Um, I am meeting with another doctor next week that is local to us, to be there during delivery. And in preparation, I have gone over all of my records, and like I said, they're right there. And I am sending those to his office as well. So not only is it helping me, it's also helping the doctors. And I have really appreciated that. And it's just been an incredible experience to be able to look through all my records and have those on my fingertips, with this whole process and helping me prepare, as well as my OB, all the other doctors that are going to be there for this labor and delivery as well. So that's kind of a little summary. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, thank you, Ali. Thank you both. To big thanks to Genevieve and to Ali both for sharing their experience using the platform. With that, I'll turn the time over to Kate Haldeman, who will introduce herself and other members of the Citizen team. Take it away, Kate. Oh, you're on mute, Kate.
Okay, now I can unmute. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Walker. Thank you so much to the SADS team. My name is Kate Haldeman, and I support the community partnerships here at Citizen. It has been such an honor and a privilege to be able to work with this team and with this community, to bring this experience and this offering really to the community and to get it into as the hands of as many patients as possible to really hopefully, as you've heard so far today, bring some relief to that process and help every individual take their best next step. I came to Citizen myself as someone who, had to navigate a complex diagnostic journey with an autoimmune condition. And I left that experience with conviction that patients and communities deserve better. And I found my home in Citizen in working to realize that. So it's been a real privilege working with the SADS community to launch this effort. And I'm excited and hopeful to see you all on the platform. I will turn it over now to Devin.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Chief Regulatory and Privacy Officer at Citizen Health. I was at the Department of Health and Human Services in the Office for Civil Rights, where I was in charge of all things HIPAA uh, policy and enforcement for 3 years. And one of the experiences that I had while there was to write extensive guidance on the right of patients to get access to their data. I think what we're doing with SADS is exactly what I envisioned would be, what was the promise of patient access to their data and enabling both individual patients as well as patient communities to really chart their own destiny, to sort of be fully informed about what's happening and to be allow their data to be part of the next generations of research without having to wait for the typical research enterprise to pay attention to them. So I'm super excited about this partnership and happy to answer any questions during this webinar and at any time that you might have about how we govern the platform and make sure your data remains private and secure. Thank you. Now over to Fareed.
Thanks, Devin, Walker, Genevieve, and the entire SATS team. Thank you so much for having me. My name's Fareed Vij. I'm our CEO and co-founder, and I've been working in the space for about 10 years and actually started at a previous company that was focused in the oncology space that Devin and I actually started together in a previous life and had started to work with patient advocacy organizations where it was incredibly eye-opening for me that these are the organizations that really move the needle for areas that end up being underserved and oftentimes ignored by the system the way it's built today. And our goal has always been that whether we're talking about research or other related initiatives, patients should always be the ones who are involved from the beginning. Patients should have visibility and transparency into how their data is being used and how it can be leveraged to be able to transform the future for other patients that come behind them and for themselves as well. And my personal passion has been, oftentimes we talk about this purely from a research perspective, which is so critical because we have to bring much needed therapies to market a lot faster. We have to ensure that there's more options for patients. But my biggest observation has been that we also don't have time to wait for that. And there are day-to-day struggles that we have to manage. There are questions that we run into that our doctors can't answer, that a standard of care doesn't exist around, that a therapy cannot necessarily solve for because it's not there yet. And we still have to navigate all of that. And so the power of bringing a community together, the power of being able to bring data together that can be used to help patients on a day-to-day basis while we work on the longer term, initiatives is something that I'm deeply passionate about and really what we've built Citizen Health around. That how can we create a platform that is really built around patients and families day to day, but in aggregate, with their permission and with their participation, can also be able to drive research forward in a very novel way. We moved into the cardiomyopathy space last year, and we've been lucky to work with almost 100 patient advocacy organizations in the past. On our platform today. And whenever we enter a space, we always want to enter with a critical anchor partner that frankly will put us through the paces to make sure that we are up to snuff for the patient community, that we have the capabilities and the right resources to provide to be able to move forward the mission. And so feel very fortunate that we were able to make this partnership happen with the SADS Foundation. As I've shared on previous webinars, I promise you that they put us through the paces to make sure that the platform is built in a manner that is not just private and secure, that is really optimized for rare disease families, as well as specifically for needs that the SADS community has. Um, with that, again, thank you for having us and really looking forward to building a lot more together.
Great. Thanks, Fareed. I think with that, we're ready to get started in terms of sharing a little bit more about why we founded Citizen Health, the value we seek to bring to patients and communities, and then we'll walk through actually how you can get started, what the sign-up process looks like, and how you can get the most out of the experience. So, Fareed, I can hand it back over to you, and we can get right into things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if we can go to the next slide. Dr. Ackerman mentioned this, Walker mentioned this, so did Genevieve. Um, we always like to start with RY. And you see on the bottom right-hand corner, there's something we say here at Citizen, which is over here, rare is common, because this is really where we focus. And really, the muse for our company is my co-founder, Nasha, whom you see in the bottom left picture with her daughter, Amara. Nasha has three children. Her youngest daughter was diagnosed with FOXG1 syndrome back in 2016. And about a year later, she and I met at this previous company that Devin and I started. And it became very, very evident to Nasha that the work that we were doing of empowering patients with their medical records, of using technology to be able to pull key data out of those medical records to drive research, with patients always at the center, was something that could be a game changer in the rare disease world. Um, Nasha, like many families, when her daughter was diagnosed, there were no therapies on the market. She did not have an access problem that many patients in this country do. And even so, getting access to some of the best care was effectively told, we don't really know what this is. We don't really know what to do about it. And so, much like many of the people that started the SADS Foundation and dedicate their so much time to it, she started a foundation of her own, really to pull the community together to develop a research program that would help bring a gene therapy to market for these children, because more and more were getting diagnosed. And I'm happy to share that 9 years later, as you know, purely as a nonprofit foundation, they have now brought a gene therapy to a phase 1 study, all on their own. They actually just got IND approval and fast track approval in the last month. Um, but that was really the eye opener for us. And so we don't only look at this from a research perspective. I'll also share that Nasha bet her entire program on the Citizen platform in a way that only Nasha can, because it was at the time a high risk maneuver. And we're very lucky that, and very fortunate, we worked very hard to build the platform in a manner that the FDA has moved that program forward, and really validated a lot of the work that we spent years pulling together. But we see Nasha's life day to day as well, and uh, as we said previously, we support thousands of rare disease families. So it's important for us to always share with our partners and with our community that we've lived that experience. We live it day to day. Almost every single person on my team is here because they're either a patient or they're a caregiver themselves. And so our commitment and dedication to this work, really does come from the heart. Next slide, please. And the three things that we've observed that we're really trying to solve for as patients and families. Genevieve said it. It is not an easy job. There is already a lot that we have to do, and most of the time we have to make up for the gaps that the system has left because it was not necessarily built around these conditions and these diseases. And that ends up resulting in a huge patient burden, even when it comes to research. The first organization that I ever talked to about a decade ago, said, hey, we're not being able to drive our research program forward. And they put a registry up, which had 93 survey questions that they were sending out to their patients that were late stage cancer patients that were really suffering. And it was a very big light bulb moment for me to say that patients that are already dealing with so much, how can they also be the ones that have to take on all of the burden to actually be able to drive the research? The second is, at the end of the day, community is a thing that is a game changer for all of us. But what ends up happening is it's often scattered. The data that is required to be able to pull together a full story and understanding of the disease is hard to pull together. And like I said, the system is not built around rare disease communities. And I've said this to Walker in the past. Um, I believe that if you believe in personalized medicine or precision care, ultimately everything is a rare disease because there's only one of you and there's only one of me. So the future system needs to be built around these rare disease communities, and that's really what we're trying to do with our model. Next slide, please. So our goal, of course, is to make sure that not only do we get all of your data in one place, but we look to use data and technology in a safe and secure way to make sure that the latest and greatest can be applied and put in the hands of patients, very specifically built around what is needed for rare disease care management and what is needed by the community. There's a lot of generic tools out there. We're obviously at a place in the world where everyone's talking about AI and ChatGPT and things like that. But healthcare is not horizontal. Healthcare is vertical. We need solutions that are very specifically built for what a specific community needs, and that's really what we've looked to do. Um, and then we always want to give an option to patients, most of whom like to take it to be able to share that data in a de-identified manner to be able to power research. And it is important to know that your story matters a lot. And when you are able to contribute your story and we're able to stack all of those and be able to show what is happening in these condition areas, that's oftentimes what can accelerate research, not just by weeks and months, but oftentimes by years. Next slide, please. So the way that it works, and Kate will walk through this in more detail in terms of what our sign-up process and product looks like. Our first goal is to go collect all of those medical records on your behalf. And the way that that works is we ask for your permission and your consent to act effectively as your third-party agent. to go get all of this data under a right that you have under HIPAA, which Devin happens to have been one of the co-authors of, where under HIPAA, any patient has a right to any medical record, any diagnostic lab, any insurance claim, any and all information that has been used to make a care decision about them. And our goal is to go collect all of that on your behalf. That is not an easy process. It's something we spent a lot of time building. But we like to go at least 7 to 10 years back, depending on, what state laws allow for. And then the goal is once all those medical records are in the product, our main product is what we call an AI advocate. And the AI advocate is effectively an AI agent that is privately and securely trained on your data that is only made available to you, and effectively functions as a second brain, where any and every detail that you might need from your medical records, whether it's for a second opinion, whether, God forbid, you're at the emergency room, whether it's for an insurance claim, it's able to power a lot of those different capabilities. And we are continuing to build a lot more around things like symptom tracking, and additional capabilities that will could be coming to the product in the coming months. And then finally, like I said, as all of those data can be aggregated, and when they are shared for research, they're de-identified, so that your identity is protected, your privacy is protected, there's no risk of re-identification, and it is only done with your consent. You are not required to consent when you come onto the platform. I will say that almost 99% of our patients do because we all want to be able to drive research and bring these cures to market sooner. Um, and whenever there is any monetization that happens as a result of that research data, revenue is always shared back with patients and with our patient advocacy partners, to make sure that all of our incentives are aligned, and fundamentally because the data does belong to you, to the patients themselves. Next slide, please. Um, so some of our core principles, many inspired by Devin, who's on the call with us. First and foremost, patients own and control their data. So why we are very deliberate about the fact that anything and everything we do with your data is always with your permission, is you should have the ability to direct how it is used. And that applies to your medical records, that applies to other data that ends up on the platform. Whenever that data is shared, like I said, it's de-identified and secured. And last but not least, there's always patient compensation whenever that data is shared for commercial research. Um, Next slide, please. So in terms of the AI advocate itself, some of the capabilities that it has, obviously accessing all of those medical records down to a specific detail that happened 7 years ago that you can't remember, it will pull that up all the way through, hey, give me an entire longitudinal summary of every single procedure, medication, what's worked, what hasn't worked, ER visit. All of that is captured through the product. And the goal, of course, is for us to be able to enable you to navigate your care better, as well as to ideally turbocharge some of the work that the SADS Foundation already does for the community in helping to navigate care. Next slide, please. And then on the research side, and this is of course a research figure that gives you sort of an idea of the type of information that your story can power. What you'll see here on that top graph is the level of information that we are able to capture, not just the depth, but the breadth of time over which this is covered. So if you look at that x-axis at the bottom that starts with the number 30, ends with the number 50, that's actually the age of this particular patient. And you can see with this patient, this is a real patient's de-identified data that we have permission to share. We've captured data over a 20-year period, on very key aspects of their care, everything from cardioversion and atrial pacing, as well as being able to then map that against very key outcome measures, in this case, left ventricular ejection fraction, in terms of being able to map what is that full story for the patient. How do these symptoms actually impact the patient's quality of life? How do different procedures and therapies and interventions change what the key outcomes are, for the given disease? And this is the key information that your data is able to unlock for researchers, which is what allows us to be able to move research forward, both to better understand the disease as well as to be able to move forward therapies and trials. Next slide. And that's a small glimpse of one patient's data, but typically we're doing this across hundreds of patients in a given cohort, and that's what's given ways to a lot of data that's been published a lot of publications that have used our data, and across both academia, from key opinion leaders as well as a number of commercial partners. And we're also very proud that our data has actually been accepted by the FDA, which is really a reflection on the quality of that data, to ensure that it really can drive research forward, for the most high stakes use cases. Um, Next slide. And the other milestone that we hit, I think towards the end of last year, like I said, we fundamentally believe this is your data. And we are a for-profit company, and we spent a lot of time being thoughtful about our business model, where when these data are used by commercial partners, by biopharma partners, again, with your consent and permission, that is how Citizen makes its money. But anytime that we make dollars, you make dollars as well, because fundamentally it's your information. And last year we hit, the $1 million mark in terms of how much money has been distributed to patients on the platform. And we believe that we'll continue to increase this number over time, really as a recognition of for the participants that are sharing this critical data to drive forward these programs. And I think that's it for me. So I'll pause there and pass it back to Kate.
Thanks, Fareed. Now that Fareed has kind of given the overall context of, why Citizen and what our sort of founding story is and some of the different components of the value proposition of the platform and this overall partnership for the community. I'm excited to actually give you a step-by-step of what does it look like to sign up, to participate. You can even follow along with me. I will drop in the chat if you are a patient or caregiver and you actually want to check out the experience signing up. You can do so right now. I'll put that in the chat right now so you can grab that link. And for others that are watching this video, the sign up link, you can use this QR code as well. So it'll bring you to a sign-in page and sign up page where you can enter in your email address, or you can log in via your Google account as well. The next step, it's again a very brief onboarding process. You'll select your diagnosis. You'll enter in some very basic demographic information, and you'll list the providers where you have received care. That really helps us get a jump start on collecting those medical records for you on your behalf. If you have any questions as you're onboarding, a few things to call your attention to is there'll be a link to learn more if ever you're curious about how to select your providers, as well as there's a in-app chat function that'll connect you directly to our patient support lead, Mikkel, who's actually on the call today. So you can actually live chat with Mikkel at any point as you're onboarding or afterwards if you have any questions. And then from there are just 2 consents that you can review and sign on during the onboarding process. You can change these at any time after onboarding. But these consents include the consent to contribute your de-identified information to these research data sets, and then the consent to share relevant identifiable contact information with the SADS team. And that really enables them to provide enhanced care navigation support that Genevie was highlighting at the beginning of the call, which again just enables them to help you better. So we've designed that into the platform as part of this partnership. So we're really excited to be able to enable that for the foundation and that resource to you. So then once you're finished signing up, you are immediately able to access your profile on Citizen, we will in the background start the record collection process for you. If you want to get started right away and you have a few records on hand, you can even upload those yourself. That's very easy to do. But in the meantime, we'll be collecting those medical records. And you can see that in the tab here. So you'll be able to access the individualized PDF from everywhere that you've listed you wanted the medical records collected from. A nice bonus here too is that you can easily share those medical records with whomever you wish, right? So this could be your care team, a new provider for a second opinion. SADS also, again, provides that enhanced care navigation support. So if you're going to be utilizing that, you can simply click this button here in your profile and share to the email address registry@sads.org as part of those care navigation conversations. So when Genevieve and the team reference that, that is exactly what they're referring to in terms of sharing your citizen health profile if you choose to participate in those care navigation activities. And so then in terms of the other aspects of the platform, you can complete short polls that the SADS team sends out to engage the community on. There's actually already a survey, a short survey waiting for you in your profile. If you follow along with the link we provided here, after onboarding, you'll actually open up that short poll right away. It'll ask you some brief information about your genetics and ICD status, for example, but this is a nice way for the SADS team to get complementary information for, above and beyond maybe what's inside the insights of the medical records about your experience, your lived experience with the condition. So you'll be hearing more about those surveys and polls later on, and as we continue to roll out this to the rest of the community. And then finally, just pointing out here from this profile icon that you can manage your consents at any time and update your profile information as well. We talked a lot about the AI advocate. And again, think of this as your personal advocate that's in your pocket. We do have a mobile app that I'll talk about in just a moment that can really help you whenever you need it, wherever you need it, in terms of answering the questions that are on your mind pertaining to your care journey or your loved one's care journey. And so just to give you an example here, you see in your dashboard a couple of different preset prompts in terms of what can you ask your AI advocate. And of course, Genevie and Ali gave you some examples at the beginning of how they have used the citizen profile and their AI advocate to manage their care, or for Genevieve, her children's care. And so just to give you an example, a very common one we see people using is, to view a symptom timeline, for example. It's useful in very many situations. So in this example, we have, if you click on view symptom timeline, the AI advocate, based off your medical history, will generate that symptom timeline for you. This is based off of, for example, sample neurodevelopmental pediatric patient and you can see how it neatly lays out everything from their global development to their symptoms, which in this case, seizure and epilepsy, and throughout their care journey, that really nicely illustrates for them what that symptom timeline looks like. And then you can actually individually share this conversation, this export of what the AI advocate came up with your care team, especially as that helps with those care conversations and really summarizing that and making it succinct as part of supporting the care conversations that you have with your provider. So just one example above and beyond what Genevieve and Ali already shared, but really, any question that you have and, you want to ask it of your medical record history, that is what the AI advocate is there to do. And very excitingly, it is now in your pocket. So we just released our mobile app for iOS US users at this time. We'll have the Android International functionality coming later. But for iOS and US users, after you onboard through the web, you'll have the option and the link to be able to go ahead and download the mobile application. And there's a couple of different native components of the mobile app that are just available on mobile. I think something we've talked a lot about with the SATS team that we think will be very valuable for this care community is that you'll be able to have your own personal note taker for your care appointments. So the AI advocate can actually, with your permission and your doctor's permission and consent during the appointment, record the care conversation. So then you have a nice transcript of the care conversation. You don't have to hold that cognitive load of remembering everything that was said during your appointment. It will automatically create a visit summary for you. And then that all again sits alongside your medical records in your profile. So the next time you ask AI Advocate a question, think about, maybe you're preparing for your next appointment. It will remember what happened at your last appointment. And again, that just reduces the cognitive load on your behalf in terms of managing everything you have on your plate and hopefully bringing you some relief in the process. So those are just, a brief overview of what the sign up process looks like, a few different things you can do to orient yourself to the platform, and a few of the native features on our mobile. I think something that additionally I'm really proud of this team for, and really I think grateful for the SaaS community too, is the feedback has been very, very helpful and powerful, right? So the SADS team has really invested in seeing each and every one of you in this product, in this experience, have given us wonderful feedback. Our team has made a lot of tweaks and updates to reflect that. And this team's also always building for you. So we love feedback. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear what you're using it for, what you would like to be using it for in the future, because ultimately, the more useful it is to you, the better we're driving forward this mission. With that, I will say thank you so much for your time. The citizen team will still be here for questions I think we're going to be doing at the end, but I'll pass it over to back to Walker to talk about next steps from here.
All right. Thank you so much, Kate. So as Kate shared, here's the sign up link where you can scan the QR code for anybody watching, or the sign up link is also in the chat here for anybody who is live. Reach out to Citizen Health through their support email, or reach out to us at any time. Um, I think we could take the slides off and see if there are any questions from the audience. Uh, it looks like somebody is talking about receiving an error as they're trying to add their medical provider. Maybe somebody from the Citizen team can address that comment. Um, but yeah, are there any other questions from the audience in the time remaining for us to field about this health navigation tool that we're implementing together with the SADS team?
Hi, everyone. I just had a quick question. I just received an email, I don't know, maybe a week ago or so, saying that my request to get my records from my electrophysiologist had been received and everything. So I've been playing around with it. But ironically, today I got notification that my monthly, I have a heart monitor implanted, so they run a report once a month. So I got that report today. So I'm just curious, is it dynamic? Will that just get pulled in, or do I have to push out that request every month to get that record brought in?
Sandy, I can take that to start. So right now in the app, you would have to make that push request again.
Okay.
Because the way that we collect the medical records is actually through the medical records department, there's not sort of
Okay.
a direct connection in.
Sure.
What I will say is uh, when you go into the app, there's like a button that says refresh, and if you just hit that, you don't have to go through the whole process
That's
again
all I
of
have to
including
do. Okay,
information again.
perfect.
And one of the things that we're working on is you'll soon also be able to connect directly into your patient portals as well. That will actually allow us to see when there's due data, and we're going to try to be pulling it automatically, so you don't have to do that. But for now, it would be best if you made that push request yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, Sandy. Thank you for that. Let's see. Any other questions from the audience? Um, so there's a question, do I have to manually submit my data to research, or will it do it automatically once I give permission? From Annie. Who would like to answer that question?
Devin, I'll turn it
I
to
was
you.
going to say, I do. Annie, if you said yes to, or you say yes to the research consent that is part of onboarding, that means that your de-identified data will be included in any research project and you do not have to push it yourself to each of those research projects. When we get opportunities or SADS receives opportunities for that may involve the sharing of identifiable data from your records, those will come to you separately to consent for, because that's a different dynamic. It's not de-identified data, it's identifiable data about you, and we want you to have the opportunity to consider those projects yourself in accordance with, what you want to support and your needs, just like Genevieve said earlier in the presentation today.
Right. Thumbs up from Annie. It sounds like you answered her question. Perfect. Thank you, Devin. Let's see. Any other questions from the audience while we have the citizen team with us? I'll maybe while we're waiting to see if there are any questions, I'll just say one thing we're really excited about is the potential to this point of research, which we haven't emphasized as much in this conversation this evening. We are so excited about the potential to use the citizen health platform to accelerate research that's happening with academic centers that we're connected to, with industry partners who are developing drugs and interventions that we're connected to. Um, just really excited about the potential for this to unlock a new level of activity and innovation in that space. Right now, there's way more interest in our inherited arrhythmia conditions than there has ever been, right? There's a new wave of investment, a new wave of opportunity. And I think now is a really, really good time for us to be partnering with Citizen in helping bring the patient perspective to that process to make sure that that new energy is channeled in ways that are going to connect to the actual needs and both medical needs and like quality of life needs that our patient community has. Let's see, another question coming in. I'm curious what your future plans are for the application. Uh, I wonder if you could expand on that question. Is that for the citizen team or for the SADS team or both? What our future plans are. Um, for Citizen Health team. Okay. Who from Citizen Health wants to talk about future plans on the horizon for you guys?
I can take a shot at that. Uh, we think of it really as three different aspects. So one is how can we make the patient application, the AI advocate, more powerful and compelling for the families that are using it. So today, the way we started was really taking that first pain point, which is how do we consolidate all of your medical records, and then how do we build the right tools on top of it to allow you to understand those medical records, pull out all the relevant information. Some of the other things that we're working on the mobile app, we recently released an appointment recording feature. One of the things that a lot of us as rare disease families have to do is we go to a lot of doctor's appointments, and as I describe it, these are much higher stake doctor's appointment than maybe an ordinary visit for someone who doesn't have a genetic condition. Um, and I experience this myself all the time. You have a 30-minute important conversation with a doctor if you're lucky. They oftentimes have a recording a device on their side, especially these days with a lot of these AI tools to make it easier for them to put clinical notes in. And then you log into your portal and there's like three little sentences, and a lot of the actual context is missing. Um, uh, so the ability to actually record all of your doctor's appointments and for that to become part of that same knowledge base that also has all your medical records, that's something we released about 2 weeks ago in the mobile app. That is available only in the mobile app, because by definition you need to have the your phone with you and you need to be able to record it. Um, The next set of features we're working on is around symptom tracking. So the ability to track what your experience is outside of the doctor's office, at home. And there's a lot of symptom tracking tools that have been built in the past, but oftentimes they require, again, a lot of work from us as patients and families to sit down and fill out a form, to do drop downs, to take notes. Some people are doing it still manually, in a notebook, but then you have dozens of notebooks and you can't pull back the information easily. So we're really focused on on voice-based symptom tracking, where you can literally just talk to your phone and say, "Hey, here's what I'm going through," and then again, the AI will organize all of that on the back end, and make it so it can be summarized. You can pull up details. You can say, "Hey, what's sort of been the trend of the last 3, 4 months?" Um, but if you really think about the experience we're building, we want the product to feel like another person to you. And this is how a person would be supporting you, right? Is you would talk to them, they would remember things, they would recall things, they can bring certain expertise back. But ideally, supercharging it even more. Some of the other features we're working on is calendar integration so that we are aware. Again, all of these are optional, for users, but so that we are aware of when your doctor's appointments are, so we can help prepare you for them, so we can keep track of all the different encounters, so we can nudge you to record your appointment, things of that nature. Um, and then there's a few additional integrations that we're working on. One is around your portal information, so that to the earlier question, you don't have to manually always request that information again and again. Our process today to collect your complete medical records also takes multiple days, sometimes a couple of weeks, um, because we are doing it through the medical records department. But this would allow us to get data back to you within minutes. And even though there's additional data, we will still continue to collect on the back end. It reduces the amount of time it takes to start to bring the latest data into your profile. The second sort of pillar that we think about is um, how can we start to make the aggregate data? And this is the part that gets more powerful the more patients that join the platform and the more patients that are willing to share their data. But there is a lot that we can learn from each other's stories. There's a lot that you can learn from what are the doctors that others have seen? What are the treatments that others have looked at? What are other patients who've had similar side effects? Today we have to sort of find this through whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's talking to others in the SADS community. But imagine if you could suddenly have access to hundreds, thousands of other patient stories, again, in a de-identified manner, to be able to ask questions of it so that when we are navigating a key decision, we can see what's happened with others who have been through a similar decision that in a similar context. And so that's a really big initiative for us over, through this year, is basically that aggregate data that our researchers love so much to look at, to be able to ask scientific questions of how can we as patients be able to ask care questions and navigation questions of that same data set, because it's incredibly powerful and there's such a big impact it can have on the day-to-day decisions that we have to make. So that's probably sort of there's a lot of stuff in there that I won't spend too much time on right now that we're working through. And then the third, of course, is on the research side. So we're continuing to find more and more approaches to be able to pull more data out faster. We also want the data to be used not just to support natural history of disease, which is a large part of what we do today, um, but everything from understanding long-term outcomes, being able to support programs even after therapies are out. There is increasing requirements from regulators, particularly the FDA, for us to continue to collect data before, during, and after the clinical trial. So it's putting more of a burden. And part of this is not just putting a burden, it's in service of allowing those treatments to come to market faster. Basically saying that, look, as long as we're tracking data throughout the process, even once the drug is out, we can start to cut down the timelines a little bit on how quickly we can get those drugs, so long as they're safe, um, because the burden of illness and the unmet need is so great. So for us, that means, again, expanding the use of the data across other use cases, as well as starting to bring additional data types in. So why we want to bring in symptom tracking, why eventually we want to bring in wearables, where we can start to pull in things from your Apple Watch or your Aura Ring or what have you, is to create as complete a picture again, both for you, but again, to feed that aggregate data set that you'll be able to ask questions of and researchers can get value from as well.
Great. Thank you, Fareed. We're at time, so let's call it good there. Um, yeah, let's call it good there. And I'll just add on that second point, we're really excited about the potential for this to unlock insights for the community. And that was something I was going to highlight if you hadn't gotten to it, Fareed. But in addition to what you said of being able to, as we get more and more people on the platform, being able to see how um, in a de-identified way, how the community is experiencing different critical moments in their care journey, being able to use that AI advocate to say, hey, not just what is my health history, but what have other people done in a situation similar to mine who have my same condition, and to learn not just through anecdotes on Facebook or wherever we might go now, but to learn from the data what people's experiences. That's so highly motivating for us and so exciting for us to have that level of insight to help inform the information that we're sharing with the broader community, and to help each person on the platform to gain greater insight into their own health journey directly. And we're also talking to the Citizen Health team about finding ways to integrate an AI tool that has access to some of that information into our website. We're rebuilding our website, and we're looking at ways to build a tool that can point people to the website, and point people to sign up for the health tool, and help people navigate finding the information they need that's going to produce the most insights, that's going to help you most in taking that next step in your care journey. So lots of exciting stuff on the horizon. Thank you, Genevie, for being here. Thank you, Ali, for sharing your story. Thank you, Kate and Freed and Devin, for joining us. And thank you everybody else who is here live watching, and watching in the future this recording. We're grateful for you all. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you at the next one. Thanks. Bye bye.